Welcome back to EV News Daily. Coming up today, the Ford F-150 Lightning's Tesla Conquest bonus, Formula E give up on in-race charging, and the solid-state batteries that are 2 years away for one car brand. And stay tuned, because later in the show, I'll tell you what the latest research says about how environmentally friendly plug-in hybrids are. Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Wherever you are in the world, EV News Daily is your trusted source of EV information for the last working day of the week, Friday, 12th of April. I'm Martin Lee, and I go through every EV story, so you don't have to. We're normally live at 5 p.m. UK, midday Eastern, a bit later today because of the Friday Batteries Included podcast that I do with the rest of the gang. Patreon supporters get these shows as soon as they're ready and ad-free. Be like them by clicking on a link in the show notes. Let's kick off with some news from Polestar, and their vehicle deliveries were in the first quarter of this year 7,200 units. Not all Polestar 2s, I must add. And these days I'm a very happy Polestar 2 owner. I particularly like the car. Bought this used. It's a 3-year-old Polestar 2 that we got. It's a bit of a stellar deal that we got, which is why we bought it. I went shopping for a Model 3 and came home with a Polestar 2 from the auction. But I'm thoroughly enjoying that. However, they have seen a decrease in vehicle deliveries from 12,076 for the same period last year. Well, Polestar has set a target of delivering between 155,000 and 165,000 cars by 2025, or the end of next year, I should say. The newly launched Polestar 4, which I'll pop up on screen for our YouTube viewers, had just 1,200 units delivered in China in the first quarter, but that does mark its debut in the market. Polestar will start global deliveries of the Polestar 3 in the second quarter, now that we're into that this year. Back to the Polestar 4, though, that is anticipated to be available to customers in Europe and Australia starting this August, with subsequent deliveries in America planned for later this year. But obviously tough times for Polestar, while the Polestar 2 has recently been updated, and I think a very compelling car, but I would say that, wouldn't I, as a huge fanboy these days. But the new models can't arrive quick enough for that company. Let's talk Ford F-150 Lightning, and a special bonus if you arrive in that truck via your Tesla. Ford is introducing a new promotion called the Tesla Competitive Conquest Bonus Cash. Catchy. But you won't mind what it's called if you get $1,500 discounted. This is an offer aimed at Tesla owners on any trim of the new Ford F-150 Lightning, which, of course, as I told you recently on the podcast, had its own price discounts. To qualify, you must own or lease a Tesla from the 2008 model year onwards. The discount extends to anyone residing in the same household as a Tesla owner. Well, the $1,500 incentive can be stacked, potentially up to $14,000 in savings for the purchase of an F-150 Lightning, particularly the Platinum model, which currently has a $12,500 retail cash bonus as well. Other incentives include $5,000 off the Lariat trim, that's a spectacular vehicle, and $7,500 off the XL with extended range battery. The offer might attract some customers who are possibly considering alternatives to the Tesla Cybertruck, maybe, or providing just a very compelling, useful option, even if you're not a typical truck buyer. I say that Friday podcast that I do and have done for the last 3 years or so. One of the guys with myself, Tom, Dom and Kyle, Tom Malogny, has his Ford F-150 Lightning, and he has a Rivian as well, and he says that whenever he looks into the driveway and is like, what am I going to jump into to go somewhere? He said that the Ford F-150 Lightning is just such a spectacular vehicle for him, loves driving it. So I know someone very well who has one, and he rates it very, very highly. Would that extra money get you into one, though? Let me know. Well, let's talk Tesla next, and the Gigafactory in Grünheide outside of Berlin they've been busy because now that production has resumed there, there's a new Model Y for you to order, and that is the big battery rear-wheel drive variant. And I've always said that if you don't need all-wheel drive in a vehicle, if you don't live in a climate that requires all-wheel drive or you have a specific purpose, then if anyone offers you the rear-wheel drive or front-wheel drive, single motor but big battery version, I think that needs to be considered. So this would be my new favourite Model Y. Now, it's not on sale everywhere. They've introduced this in select European markets, so I'll bring up the German Tesla website, and for our YouTube viewers, I'll take off my smiling face, because it's covering up the configurator, and have a look at this. Now the new Model Y features a long-range battery. They list it as 600 kilometers. 600k, 373 miles. The long-range rear-wheel drive is currently available in Belgium, Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, Greece, Spain, Germany, and Norway. Not Netherlands, not UK for some... the UK is right-hand drive, I suppose. The existing rear-wheel drive base model uses an LFP battery and will offer 455 Ks or 283 miles. Then, of course, this fits in between the base model and the big battery all-wheel drive. Now, on the configurator, this is some classic Tesla... what shall we call it? Sleight of hand? No, this is just the way they present the information, and if you're aware of how they present it, that's going to be okay. So it makes it look like on the configurator that there is a 70-kilometer difference, because it's 600 Ks for the new one. I'm talking about rear-wheel drive big battery, and only 533 for the all-wheel drive version. But that 533 WLTP, of course, is done with the bigger 20-inch wheels, and that 600 number for the new model is only available with 19. So if I go to the all-wheel drive one and then go down and select the 19-inch wheels, it pops up to 565. And so it's not such a big difference as they're trying to present it on that first page. It's not a 70-mile difference, but it's still a welcome bump. And look, more importantly, I'll pop me back on screen. There we go. Look, more importantly, it's about the price, because in Germany it's a €6,000 euro difference just for missing an electric motor. There's no way that the motors in a Tesla are €6,000 each. So that's a very big price difference, and I think it is priced to encourage you to buy it. Now, in Belgium, it's only a €3,000 difference, but in Germany, I mean, just if you don't need all-wheel drive, make the saving. That is incredibly compelling. It's the one I would have every day of the week. Oh, by the way, it's priced at 48,990 euros, obviously. This is the German site that I am on. And as a reminder, if I scroll down, of course, those new German Giga Berlin colors as well, in the red and the silver too, which I think look just particularly brilliant. But yeah, either way, that's the one I would have every day of the week if I could. Now, I know sometimes people think I can be a little bit harsh on Tesla, like calling out the way that they present the information. They're not doing anything wrong, by the way, there. But I understand why some people think, yeah, you're not as pro-Tesla as some of the Tesla podcasts that are out there. But I always try and find a balance on this particular show. Well, there's someone who is very, very pro-Tesla, very pro-Elon Musk. That is someone who has been a long time proponent of the company. Dan Ives of Wedbush, a long-standing advocate for Tesla. You won't find many people who crop up on the financial shows and the financial talk shows as a talking head, as a guest in the US, who is more pro-Tesla. He has got a big price target for the company, but he has come out yesterday actually, on Thursday, with a new note to say that at the upcoming earnings call on April 23rd, he's given Elon Musk effectively, 2 weeks until then to communicate a strategy to revive Tesla's growth, and described it as a Category 5 demand storm. Essential to Tesla's recovery strategy, according to Dan Ives, is the introduction of the so-called Model 2 or $25,000 entry-level car, which the Reuters report exactly a week ago today, which was pretty well sourced actually from multiple people within the company, say is on ice, and suppliers being told not to supply the part they were previously talking about. He wrote in a note yesterday, I quote, "A key part of the future growth story for Tesla is the Model 2 vehicle, sub $30K price point to drive mass demand globally in the EV landscape. We estimate that around 60% of the growth of the next few years will come from the Model 2, which was set to hit the roads in 2025, end quote. Well, increased competition in China and a global dip in EV demand at the beginning of this year are all pressing concerns. Elon Musk focusing on his social media network, on SpaceX, on developing AI technologies for XAI outside of Tesla, even poaching top Tesla talent to go work for a separate company. and Ives stressing that Elon Musk is at a critical juncture, needing to steer Tesla through these challenges to prevent further deterioration of confidence. And, it's a slippery slope once you start to lose confidence in people, especially if your whole business and the whole stock price is based around that optimism, that growth story, and that will filter through. The financial side I pay attention to, but this isn't a financial podcast. That filters down. The reason why I'm talking about this to you and I, the customers and the enthusiasts of Tesla, or indeed electric vehicles in general, and, whether it is his increased public persona, which has taken on a political slant these days, or the other things that some people say that he's putting people off buying cars. I'm not totally convinced of that story, by the way, but that is a narrative that's out there. But either way, that tends to snowball, and this analyst saying that Elon Musk has got to stop being an absentee CEO and get back and get the strategy communicated in a couple of weeks' time on the call, which of course we'll cover on this podcast. Now, one thing that caught my eye yesterday, Mr. Musk, the CEO of Tesla, was on a live broadcast on X and was asked about the situation in Sweden with the ongoing strike that's affecting the business there. I told you recently on the podcast that has now extended to the unions in the electricity companies now refusing to energize new supercharger stations in Sweden. I speculated that could even go as far as maintenance, when those stations have to be taken offline for whatever reason, either a fault or for regular maintenance, that they may not be reconnected to the grid because the unions there refusing to work with Tesla. Well, he was asked about that on a Twitter Spaces, and Mr. Musk said that things are now in reasonably good shape in Sweden, and I quote, "The storm has passed on that front." Well, those comments were noted by the unions, and Jesper Pettersson from the IF Metall Union replied and emphasized that the strike action is very much not passed on that front, and it is ongoing. He revealed that the union is contemplating an escalation, in fact, of their actions, which started last October, and he commented on Tesla's portrayal of the situation, suggesting the company's implication that anything is normal in Sweden is certainly not true. Now, our next story comes from the punching yourself in the face department, because Formula E have had to admit that they are going to postpone the launch of in-race, mid-race charging, which has been coming for a long time at Formula E, and for as long as it's been coming, I've been saying they don't need to bring it. It's 600 kilowatts. Pit stops for mid-race charging, but it just doesn't work. It's not like a pit stop. Those that follow my other work outside of this have known for a long time. I've been the host of the Formula One podcast for Autosport, which I've stopped doing this year to focus completely on EV News Daily, and I miss that show. I mean, I'm a huge Formula One fan. Racing with combustion stuff at the weekend is different to me going EV to do all of my kind of miles here and there, but that's just my opinion on our move to electric. But with Formula E, which I must confess I'm not a huge fan of, this idea of in-race charging is not like a 3 or 4 second pit stop, or where it's impressive to see, and they change the tyres and off they go again. Refueling, combustion-wise, in Formula One has long been banned, and that's a good thing. But Formula E has seemed intent on bringing it back in terms of adding a charge to the battery with mid-race charging. It was going to debut this season, then it got put back, and now this charging technology, which is aimed at talking about how EVs can charge quickly, and I get why they're trying to do it, it's kind of pointless, has now been delayed indefinitely to some point in the future. Technical challenges and the need for further testing have been cited as the reasons for the postponement, ensuring the system's reliability and safety before it goes live. And look, if you've been to a Formula E race before, you can't help but have noticed that some of those venues, yes, there are diesel generators chugging away round the back, at least used to be. I don't know if it's all hydrogen powered and stuff these days. To the pit and paddock complex to power everything. So the idea of adding a whole bunch of race cars charging at 600 kilowatts, firstly, on just the supply is ridiculous, but I'm sure they've sorted that. But we just don't need it as a spectacle in racing, because the pit stop would be long. It would just be the car sitting there. It takes us back to the days of the drivers, there being 2 cars for every driver, and them jumping out and changing cars mid-race, which I got used to, by the way, with Gen 1. I kind of didn't mind it, because you got to see the drivers, all of the drivers, they hopped out of the car and into the next one, their belts pulled in. I kind of liked it by the end. It just didn't need to be done. It never needed to be added to the series, and now they've admitted they can't, or there is no date for when it will start. It's just, stop punching yourself in the face. You don't need to do this. Now, if you've been following the news cycle lately, you can't help but have noticed some of the US automakers have been making overtures towards hybrids a little bit more. Of course, in China, the dominance is BEVs, and here in Europe as well. But in the US, the likes of Ford and GM saying, well, maybe there's a place for plug-in hybrids. If you think about it, they're probably, a good thing. And there's mixed reactions to that, I suppose, but they know what they're doing for their own businesses. I don't necessarily think it's the best message to be sending out, but either way, there's also the environmental concerns as well. But what of them? Well, recent findings by not one, but 2 major bodies have sparked huge concerns over the real-world economy of plug-in hybrids. This is maybe not of the scale of Dieselgate, but recent findings by the European Union have sparked these concerns that discrepancies in real-world fuel economy of plug-in hybrids versus the lab results that get published are wider than we previously thought. 2 studies, very influential. One by the European Commission predicts some impactful changes to the auto industry in 2026 when it alters the range of vehicles that's available to customers. Investigators reveal that the current testing methods under the WLTP, Worldwide Harmonized Light Vehicle Testing Procedure, significantly overestimate the efficiency of a plug-in hybrid. Petrol cars as well, pure combustion cars, showing a 24% overestimation of how far they go on petrol, and diesel's 18%. So not just plug-in hybrids affected because of the battery on them. The real-world fuel consumption data for cars registered last year highlights notable inaccuracies in lab testing compared to the actual performance, with plug-in hybrids not meeting anywhere near their expected standards. Enhanced scrutiny from the European authorities is anticipated for plug-in hybrids and other upcoming vehicles in light of these findings. I'll pop a full link to those stories in the show notes if you'd like to read more. Let's talk solid-state batteries next, and solid-state batteries are always just around the corner, so you have to be careful who you listen to. GAC is one company that says this is the real deal, and we'll have them on the market in a couple of years with 1,000 kilometers of range. GAC, the Chinese company, announcing plans to deploy its solid-state battery technology in the Hyper branded electric vehicles. That's their range, the Hypers. The solid-state batteries feature an energy density of 400 watt-hours per kilogram. That is a significant enhancement to the range of EVs, and well over double the energy density of some existing technologies, well over. These batteries incorporate a third-generation sponge silicon negative electrode and a high-capacity solid-state positive electrode. Compared to the traditional liquid lithium-ion batteries, the solid-state version boasts a mass energy density increase over 50% of existing technologies and volumetric energy density over 52%, they say. But is it the real deal, and will they be on the road? Well, they say it's like climbing Mount Everest, highlighting the extensive challenges in materials design and manufacturing. The batteries, they say, will be on the road in 2026. They are 100% solid-state batteries, not semi-solid state, but they do say that's when they'll launch them. And we'll have to wait and see. This could be game-changing technology. The head of CATL recently said they've been investing significantly in solid state, and he remains as unconvinced as some others. And finally, a product announcement today from a startup in New York City. So this isn't chargers in the ground, but I thought I'd give it a quick mention. I think it's more than vaporware, but we'll wait and see if these start to get rolled out. The startup is called Postpones, and the reason I mention it is because lamppost charging is not a new thing. We've got thousands of lamppost chargers all over London and big cities here in the UK. Lamppost charging is very, very common, and just as a nature of how built up our cities are, and park our cars on the street and having to get overnight charging because you haven't got off-road parking, and do it in a way that it's not draping a cable out of your front window or stuff like that. You see these horror shows on social media. The newly launched lamppost charger wraps around the lower part of a lamppost, and so the reason I mention it is because it seems a very novel idea. So you have the existing infrastructure of the lamppost, and the AC charger actually wraps around the bottom half with everything incorporated necessary to charge 4 EVs simultaneously at level 2 speeds. The charger unit is positioned at hand level, they say, for easy access with a retractable cable system. It's modular, it's simple to maintain, they say, but like I say, it's a product announcement, and we'll see if these start to go in the ground anytime soon. Well, that's our podcast for today. Thank you for listening. Thanks for watching this week. Always appreciate it to see your feedback online. And if you'd like to support the show financially, it's how I earn a living these days, by spreading the good word about electric vehicles. And as an enthusiast of the EV industry, I'm happy to pass on whatever I can if it helps you. If I can go through hundreds of articles a day and it saves you time, because now you're completely up to speed on what happened in the last 24 hours, at least the stuff you need to know, then if this is a useful service to you, I'd invite you to have a look at the Patreon page, but no pressure. We'll always be free online if you don't mind the odd ad or two. patreon.com/EV News Daily. Thanks to our premium partners: Porsche of the Village in Cincinnati, Audi of Cincinnati East, Volvo Cars of Cincinnati East, National Car Charging on the US mainland, and Aloha Charge in Hawaii. Derek Riley from the Nevo.ie and Nevo EV Review Ireland YouTube channel. Octopus Electroverse, global public charging made simple with one app and one map. And Lease Plan Electric Moments. All the tools and guidance EV drivers need. Have a good one. See you maybe over the weekend. If not, I'll see you Monday. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Have a good one. Oh, and remember, there's no such thing as a self-charging hybrid.